I welcome everyone. We are waiting for another selection of stories. Do not forget to write comments. I will definitely read them. Jimmy is with you as always, and we are starting. First story, from user Throw Rep Reposing. Let's listen. Frankly, I'm still in shock that this happened, so this might be all over the place. Bear with me. All fake names. Jordan and I met in university 2 years ago. We both started at the same time, and because of our ages, we were both considered mature students. So we quickly became firm friends as we shared a dorm, and we'd joke around together about us being old enough to be considered mature in our early 20s. We weren't on the same course, but given we lived together, we would hang out pretty much all the time whenever we didn't have a lecture. We joined a bunch of societies together, went drinking every weekend together. It was a pretty sweet gig, because it meant we were at least never alone. Obviously, we made other friends, both alone and together, but we were always each other's number one at the end of the day. At the moment, we're on spring holidays for Easter, and while we haven't hung out constantly, we decided to make plans to visit each other's hometowns, because we're from very starkly different places. Today, we went to mine. Mine is a big city central. This morning we went there and we're wandering down the streets, doing some sightseeing because he's never been. There's typically a lot of street sellers here, trying to sell you everything from hot dogs to fluffy Pokemon hats. I decided I wanted to get a caricature done. I've never had one and I thought it would be funny to get and hang over my bed when we got back for term. I asked Jordan if he wanted to get in and he refused. No worries, so I sat down to get it done. They don't take very long, 5-10-ish minutes, so I looked straight forward at the artist the entire time. He finished the caricature, I loved it. So obviously I turned to show it properly to Jordan. When I turn though, I literally don't even know what to say. He's down on one knee, holding up a ring box. I don't even really know what he said, if he did the whole proposal speech thing, because I was so confused. I was barely paying attention. Remember again, this is a super busy tourist city, so this has drawn a mini crowd now coming over to cheer us on. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. To be honest, I thought this was some kind of odd prank type thing. We never have been prankster types or whatever, but I couldn't come up with a reasonable explanation. So I just laughed and laughed and laughed. Until I looked at Jordan, and he looked genuinely heartbroken. So obviously I asked him something along the lines of, "You're not being serious?" This is the only thing I remember him saying. He shut the box, stood up, shrugged, and said, "I guess not anymore," and walked off. This left me standing pretty awkwardly in this gathered crowd of people, a lot of who were giving me dirty looks, which made me incredibly uncomfortable. The plan was to meet back up a hotel that we had booked rooms next door to one another. So I figure that's where he's going and head back that way, but he's not there. So I wait, and he still doesn't return. I text him out of concern. This was at 1:15 p.m. It's currently 6:20 p.m. as I'm writing this, just asking if he's okay. He responds with a long message back, which I would post because it's an odd read, but I won't out of respect for his privacy, in which he basically accuses me of leading him on, asking why I didn't break up with him sooner, saying I had publicly humiliated him and that he thought I loved him the same way, and that he felt our relationship was strong enough to consider taking the next step. Now this is completely out of left field. I literally have got no idea where in the world he's got this idea from. The closest we've ever physically been is a hug hello and goodbye. I've never even jokingly flirted with him. For exactly this reason, I've had too many friendships collapse because they can't tell the difference between serious, interesting, and joking banter in friendships. So I've been extra careful to not. We've never kissed, never been on a date, never had sleep. I do not find him physically attractive, and I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with him. I don't understand where on earth he's got this idea that we are. This isn't something he's ever brought up before this, and I'm genuinely bewildered. He hasn't returned to the hotel yet. I periodically knock to check, and I've been listening out for him walking up the hallway or anything. Nothing. I haven't responded to his long paragraph because honestly, I don't know how to. I'm just so stunned and taken aback that I genuinely have no idea where to go from here or what to do. I haven't told anyone I know in person yet, mostly because I don't want to bring this up to people who know Jordan. So here I am turning to strangers on Reddit instead. What in the world do I do? Author update this story. Jordan did in fact not come back to the hotel. I stayed up until 1 a.m. before falling asleep, and he didn't return. When I woke up the next day, the hotel staff let me know he had checked himself out at about 6 a.m. I did end up responding to his big, long text. I took everyone's advice and told him that I was sorry it didn't go as he had expected, but that I wasn't sure where he'd got the impression we were together. I said I'd be happy to sit and have a discussion about it all so we could make sure we're on the same page. He was not happy about this at all, and he again went off, which a bunch of the same type of thing he'd said in his first message. It didn't really seem to be going through his head at all. Even in these new texts, he kept referring to this all as me breaking up with him, despite me explicitly telling him we are not and never have. Again, all his messages were very clear and coherent, even if what he was saying was not based in reality at all. He wasn't sending paragraphs, just sentences in really quick succession, which was blowing my phone up. He told me he didn't want to meet up with me to talk because I had ripped out his heart and crushed it in public. I did ask him for specific instances he could recall between us that made him think we were dating, but he completely ignored the question and just kept going on and on about how hurt he was that I was breaking up with him and how he felt his world was ending. He said he loved me more than anything and had felt so confident that I had too, which is why he felt so certain about proposing to move our relationship along. Eventually, to be honest, I grew pretty tired of the conversation and stopped responding, because it was just going around and around in circles. Me asking where he got this idea, him ignoring this and telling me how hurt he is. I'm breaking up with him over this. He went on and on, saying he thought it would be a ring I like, because it was my favorite gem, ruby, instead of diamond. It's got me wondering how much he actually spent on this damn thing. I didn't look very clearly at the ring, so I couldn't tell if it was something super expensive or not, and that he had been working up the courage to do so for a while, and figured doing it when I was at home would make it more special. For a while, he was just talking to himself in my texts, because I wasn't responding anymore. When I checked back about 20 minutes later, I had something like 60 messages from him. Granted, they were all one sentences. At the very end, he apologized and told me that it didn't matter anyway because I wouldn't see him around anymore. Obviously, I was concerned, so I asked for clarification. He said that he was going to drop out of university and go back home because he couldn't deal with the shame. That's where our conversation ended. I didn't really know what to respond to that. As it stands now, I don't really know where Jordan is. I didn't ask him, which is my bad. I'm not sure if when we will talk again. I'm sorry this is quite a boring update. Unfortunately, I can't excite everyone with a, and then he turned up at my door, and then he sent me flowers, or whatever. It feels a lot is unanswered. I still don't know where he got the idea we were saying from. He hasn't explained that. So I'm sorry I can't give everyone that answer. I haven't reached out to his family yet. I did consider it, but if he's not having a mental health crisis, I don't really want to involve them unnecessarily. Author update the story in the second time. So adding on, a lot of people said I should ask our mutual friends if he's ever bought this up before, ever suggested we were dating. All of the people I've asked, granted it was only 5, said that they've not got a clue and he's never mentioned it before now. I don't know then if this is something that he's newly started thinking, if it's been something long-term. Either way, in addition, I've also screenshotted all of his texts, just in case. Reading back on them, not with a slightly less confused mindset. They read pretty manic. Still haven't heard back from his mom just yet. Hey, I'm not dead. I'm back at my parents' house at the moment, and I'll be staying here until school picks back up in a bit instead of traveling around. It's nice to be home anyways. That's what I think about this story. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of those stalkers who are absolutely certain that they're in a relationship because the celebrity is sending them secret messages or whatever, full-blown delusional, and they're usually the ones who end up trying to destroy the person they're stalking. This seems like a slightly less delusional case because they at least know each other, But it's definitely possible that he made up the entire relationship based on innocent little things she did or said that he twisted into something romantic. It's scary, and I really hope it doesn't go beyond what it already has. Let's check user comment. I understand not wanting to involve family, but as you are close and in college, surely there are other friends or people who know you both you could reach out to and ask. You don't even have to go into specifics. Just be like, hey, did you think that Jordan and I were dating? Have you heard Jordan refer to us as dating? Get a sense of whether this is something ongoing and he's just a regular weirdo, or if this is something concerning that should be brought up with family or mental health professionals at your school. Second story from the user Puzzle-Headed Foxes. Let's listen. I, 26 male, was in a relationship with my girlfriend, 26 female, for almost 6 years. We loved each other, but last year, my girlfriend and I decided to separate for a while to rekindle our relationship. We placed no restrictions on the separation, and we were free to do whatever we wanted and act as we're single. We took a break for a couple of months. The break was much needed to recharge our relationship. A week after getting back together, my girlfriend showed signs of pregnancy. She got an at-home pregnancy test done, which confirmed she was pregnant. We were both really overjoyed and happy. A few months later, I was planning on proposing to her, and I had already bought the engagement ring, but I wanted to confirm first that I was the father before proposing to her and get the prenatal paternity test done. My girlfriend and I both wanted to do the NIPP test to confirm that I was the father. My girlfriend said she did have sleep with someone during our break, so there was an off chance I wasn't the father. But we were both very confident that I would be the father. We received the results a couple of weeks later, and I wasn't the father. I was extremely sad and dejected, and my girlfriend was very sad too. It just hurt me a lot, and emotionally, I couldn't process it. A week later, I broke up with my girlfriend. The breakup was extremely traumatizing for my girlfriend, and even for me. I told my girlfriend that I just did not want to be the baby's father, and that if possible, she had to try and contact the bio father and let him know. I then helped her move back to her parents' home. AITA? Author update this story. So just a quick update, as a few people in the comments were wondering as to whether my ex knew who the bio dad was. I called my ex last night and asked her if she had found the bio dad, but she said no, that she just knew his first name, but didn't have his number or any social media. She had met him at the bar. It was pretty much a one-night stand. I asked her how her parents are taking it, and unfortunately they aren't taking it too great, and they are being really critical of her. Her parents really liked me, and they had no idea we even took a break. My ex was a bit of an emotional mess when I called her last night, and I really felt bad. I really wished that baby was mine. My ex and I really envisioned spending the rest of our life with each other, but it sadly isn't. I told my ex last night that was the last time I was going to call her, and wished her well on her future. She was crying really badly at the end, and it pretty much broke my heart when I hung up. What I think about this story, it's basically a trial breakup the way most people use it. However, I do think there are some genuine therapies where people having space from each other can help them decide how they feel about the relationship and whether they both want it to continue. This way, though, is typically done with the rule that you aren't going to go fuck other people during the break. You are just living apart. User commented this story. Don't feel bad for her. Wasted feelings. This sucks all around, but it could have been avoided so many different ways. This isn't about what she has a right to do. It's about making choices that won't up a future. At the time she slept with the man who got her pregnant, she had a possible future choice to get back together with you. Instead, she chose to be horny and have sleep with someone it never was going to be more than a one-night stand. And I suspect she let him push her into going no defense. She didn't have to do that. Instead, she accepted all of that. All of this sucks, sure. But the choices were hers, and she made them. I don't recommend staying in touch either. People like her are prone to trying to manipulate people with lies to try to claw back their mistakes. Also, get screened for STIs. Thanks to everyone who watched to the end. Special thanks to those who support me. See you in the next video today. Bye-bye.